Hi everybody, I'm Kathy Wing, Artistic Director of the Randall Theater Company, and we are back this week in our temporary headquarters in the corner of my living room. And this week, we're back with a lot of our regular features, including a really fun theater game with the Randall Theater Improv Troupe, and an absolutely wonderful performance from Brandt Nakamura in our public domain concert series. Plus, the return of Cam Duncan and the dilemma of the doctor's wife. And it just so happens that tonight's interview is with the man who plays the role of our hero Cam Duncan, Mr. David Alonso Rodriguez. But first, here's a little update on our move out of the First Street space. A lot has been happening over the last couple of weeks. Seating risers have been taken down, the tech booth has been dismantled, the walls between the lounge and the green room are gone, and the stage area is being cleared. It gives new meaning to the term open concept. So, a big shout out to everyone who has come down to help so far. And if you missed last week's work party, don't despair. There's still a lot to do. The next project is to get all the loose pieces out of the space, some to storage, some to new homes, and some, well, to its eternal rest. And for that, we'll need a lot of help. We'll be posting this weekend's schedule on the Randall Theater Company Facebook page, so keep an eye in that direction and come on down if you can help. So, the Randall reboot is officially underway. Sounds like a t-shirt slogan. Stay tuned, you never know. We'll have an announcement about the first show we're planning a little later on in the show. But first, David Alonso Rodriguez joined the Randall Theater family about 3 years ago, before he even lived in Medford, by doing the artwork for the Randall's production of The Picture of Dorian Gray. He then took to the stage in our Disney Mad Lib show, Singin' in the Rain, Pippin, and Evil Dead the Musical 2018. David is also a video game enthusiast whose live streaming sessions include a lot of fun mixed with a little philosophy. So I am here today with David Alonso Rodriguez. How are you, David?
I'm good, Kathy. How are you doing?
I'm good. So great to have you here on Ghostlighting. First of all, what have you been up to these days?
Well, I try to keep busy and add some structure to my day. So usually I'll start the morning. My sister will text me. We'll do a yoga session with this kids yoga for my niece called Cosmic Kids. It's very silly and very funny. And that usually puts a good start to my day, gets my brain chemicals all in order. And then depending on the day, I've been usually choosing to stream video games on Twitch. So that's been a good platform for me to just talk and get my feelings out, and also play some games and have some fun with people who join the chat and want to communicate with me.
Well, I was actually going to ask you about you. I knew you had been doing the game streaming, or actually I'm not entirely sure what all that involves.
Yeah, pretty much what I do is I start the first part of the stream. I'll get ready, maybe have some coffee, and put on kind of like a movie clip in the beginning just for people to watch and enjoy. And then I'll join, and then it'll be like a little bit like a podcast where I'll talk about like my day or what's going on in the world, and just kind of catch up and see how people are doing. And then usually I'll just dive into the game. I'll play a lot of retro games, so basically any game that's not been released within like the last 5 years or so, somewhere around there.
Well, very cool. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
So when you and I first met, it was our Disney Mad Lib show.
That's true.
And I remember that we were looking for another guy to be in the show, and you were recommended, and pretty much I cast you like sight unseen. It's like, oh sure, tell him to come to rehearsal. And I think most of them already knew you. I was meeting you for the first time.
Yeah, I knew a handful of people already involved, so that made it easier to kind of banter off and play with them in a group setting. Yeah, it was, it was very like kind of fly by our seat, coming up with stuff as we went, and I appreciated the collaboration of the project. I thought that was always something that you really focused on, was just making sure that everyone's voice was heard and that we're all contributing something to the project that was like ours. So for me, that was when me and Susie collaborated and did the Disney raps. That was a lot of fun to come up with those.
That was so much fun, yeah. But before Disney, you actually were involved in another Randall show. You did the artwork for Picture of Dorian Gray.
That's true, yeah. Before I even moved down and before Disney Mad Libs, my friend Nico Hewitt, who was the set designer and acting at the time, he contacted me and asked if I could do some Photoshop work just to kind of make a series of photos that were very grotesque and really representative of Dorian's journey into madness and all the effect of like everything he was doing to his body and his mental well-being just really showed in this really visceral way.
For that, it was so effective. So let's talk a little bit about Pippin, if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, how that experience was for you being in that show.
That show has a lot of really good memories for me. I definitely remember that was a show that we were really worked to, really bring everything, especially the first number, Magic to Do. I remember that that was something that our director, Robin, at the time really focused on, was just like, this is the opening number. You got to really, entrance them, bring them into the show, bring them into the world. Connections are always like the biggest thing for me on stage. If I'm not connecting with another person on stage, it's really, really difficult because it just feels like my energy is being thrown at a flat surface. And that was a show that I think I found a good groove, and I started to have fun, which is the important thing you have to come back to, is that despite all the work and despite, how sore you are and how maybe how low energy you want to feel, just really being able to push into that kind of third sphere of energy is really important. For me, that was like another show we did, Evil Dead. That was a show that took everything out of me. I would come home and my girlfriend Meagan can attest to this. I would come home and I would just disrobe at the door and immediately head to get an Epsom salt bath, and she would bring me food and a beer, and she was so sweet about it. But it was I really needed that. I think me and another castmate, Brad Zentgraf, we would take joint supplements, which is something that as a 20-year-old I would never think to have to take. Yeah, I really felt it loosened me up and help to really, but stretching is always a thing I will always advertise before and after, because your joints will thank you later for it. So
coming up, we'll be talking with David about the impact his theater experiences have had on him personally, on both the real-life stage and in virtual stage readings like we've been doing since the theaters closed. In particular, his role as private investigator Cam Duncan. We'll also hear what he has to say about the role theater can play in creating an atmosphere of change and support for those whose voices need to be heard. But first, after many weeks of being cooped up at home, we're finally able to start getting out a bit. But before that, we had a lot of time on our hands and a lot of TV to watch. So tonight's question: what shows were you binge watching while we were still in lockdown?
I just finished Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
American Gods Season 2.
I did just finish Happy on Netflix, which is really hilarious. The real answer is, I'm rewatching old cartoons.
YouTube videos mostly. We don't really have a show that we're binge watching right now.
We're also watching My Hero Academia.
I tried to start watching The Tiger King, and I just got too upset. It was just too ridiculous for me to handle. Just all the tigers and rednecks and murder. Oh my, I couldn't handle it.
The only thing I started binge watching a little bit was BoJack Horseman, which I can only take in like short bursts.
We haven't done it yet, but Zach and I are most likely going to be binge watching all of the CW superhero shows that we were behind on.
We have binge watched a lot, but we started Ozark, and it looks very promising. I did try and get into Smallville twice. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Black Sails.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
An old show that I love, Dexter.
Star Wars The Clone Wars cartoon. Because Jeff and Zach both insist that I must, because a character from it is going to be in the next season of Mandalorian.
What would you say has been some of your best stage experiences?
Oh boy, that's tough because I think every experience is so different and provides so much. I as an actor and as a person, internalize every stage experience so much because everything means so much to me. And I consider myself, without sounding degrading, an emotional person. So, I really do. The connections I make are really important. The people I meet are really important to me, and everything that happens on and off stage is always really important. As far as like favorite productions, I really would mark up Evil Dead to one of those because that was really the quintessential example of my acting capability and being able to push myself to new horizons and past certain boundaries I thought I had. I also really enjoyed Silent Sky over at the Collaborative Theater Project Theater, but that was a production where I was surrounded by very thoughtful, capable, and just insightful women, and really inspired me to kind of bring more to the table as far as like the character I was developing and what I wanted to make out of it.
One thing that both you and I have been involved in are virtual staged readings over things like Zoom. But you are taking a starring role in our Ghostlighting's virtual staged reading of Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife. I like to say it like that. Because I feel like it sounds dramatic, but
absolutely.
But trying to create a character, it is more of a reading than doing a play. How has that been for you? Is it a different process or?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm trying my best to like kind of imitate the transatlantic sort of accent that I think that Cam would have. A reading is always different from a stage production because, especially in this instance where you're not there physically with another person to act off of. So you really got to like make sure that you're connecting not only with the third person in the room, which is the camera and the audience in the same go, but you're also connecting with the people you see on screen. So it's really a lot of just working at it. And it's been really interesting. I think that Cam's such an interesting character in that he means well, but he's a little bit rough around the edges and is willing to do kind of whatever he needs to do to solve the case. But there are clearly people in his life that he cares about and wants to make sure that they're safe and happy and healthy. And I think it's really always the actor's job to find something that I myself can identify with and can latch onto as far as the character goes.
Any idea what's ahead? Acting wise, I know a lot of us just have no clue right now, but
yeah, it's tough given the current situation with COVID and also with the protests. It can be a little bit scary to be out in the public right now, but I do want to say that I think that what we are doing is really important in this time and day, because I think at this point we need to kind of voice the voiceless and be heard to make these big changes happen.
Absolutely.
What we're going to do is play a game. I think actually Rhyon was there when I learned it. In fact, he maybe even taught this to me, but I'm going to explain it to him as if I'm inventing it. So Rhyon and everybody else, what we're going to do is kind of highlight the fundamental deal of improv, and we're going to go yes and. So we're just going to say a little sentence, and And I think we're all in the same order before we had to go. Okay, so we're going to go Kathy, John, Ryan, Aeriel, Julia, Bree. How about that?
I took a walk in the park today.
Yes, and while I was there, I saw 100 squirrels.
Yes, and they were all so happy to frolic, like you do.
Yeah, and there were also birds with the squirrels, and the birds talked to the squirrels like me.
Yes, and while the birds were just chirping so beautifully, somebody was feeding the birds, and they ate too much.
Yes, and then they got so big that they were the size of soccer balls. So.
Yes, and when they tried to fly, all they could do was hop along the ground like sad little creatures.
The end.
The end.
So that's a quick thing. It's part of the fun over Zoom. So we're going to start again. And we went from walking in the park to birds that were hopping around the size of soccer balls. We got pretty good on one round. So here we go. I saw a car the other day.
Yes, and it was filled with people.
Yes, and the people were all dressed in clown makeup.
Yes, and for some reason, their tires were flat.
Yes, and also they were wearing lederhosen.
Yes, and in their lederhosen, they flopped along on their flat tires to the chocolate festival.
Yes, and when they got there, they were very upset because they thought it was going to be a carnival / Oktoberfest, but it wasn't.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Zoom Improv, it's
Love
a lot of folks watching at home. Stay tuned. There's going to be a little more of this, but hopefully a little more produced. Generating buzz, 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 buzz. I'll put a B in there in post. So thank you all improv players for joining us, and I'll let the conversation keep going, and happy ghostlighting.
Yes, and we'll be right back.
Previously on Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife. Private Detective Cam Duncan is going through a dry spell. He's hoping the case of a lifetime is right around the corner, but his loyal secretary, Sally, isn't so sure.
I'm sorry, Cam, but a girl just can't live on rubber checks and good intentions.
So when good friend and police inspector Albert Locke asks for Cam's help with a case, he's all too willing to oblige. There's only one catch.
Rose McKenzie, the good doctor's wife, is our prime suspect. What I need you to do is find a way to prove her innocence.
Cam doesn't understand why Locke would want to help his prime suspect until she walks in the door.
Mr. Duncan, Cam, you have to believe me. I didn't kill my husband. I loved him.
Cam fears that his friend Locke is in over his head, and possibly head over heels, until Locke spills the truth about his connection with the beautiful Rose McKenzie.
She's my sister. There. Are you happy now? She's my sister.
And now, the Randall Theater Company and the Ghostlight Players present Chapter 7 of Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife, featuring John Wing as Police Inspector Albert Locke, Lynn Dutra as Sally O'Brien, Meagan Kirby as Rose McKenzie, and David Alonso Rodriguez as Private Detective Cam Duncan.
I came to you as a friend. And now you're accusing me of murder? You couldn't be more wrong. I told you before, it's not like that with Rose.
Then tell me how it is. If you really want my help, you gotta come clean with me. Talk to me, Albert.
Rose McKenzie and I are not... She's my sister. There. You happy now? She's my sister.
Cam stares at Locke in stunned silence as this new revelation sinks in.
Sister? What sister? Albert, I've known you for a lot of years, but you never talked about a sister. You grew up in the boys' home downtown, right? No parents and no sister.
That's what I told everybody. My parents died when I was 7 years old. My sister Molly, that was her name then, was only 2 years old. I was sent to the boys' home, and Molly, well, I never knew what happened to her until about a month ago. That's when she showed up at the precinct and told me who she was. I was shocked, of course. I didn't believe her at first, but she knew things about our family, about me. And she had a birth certificate. She told me how she'd been adopted when she was 4, and her new parents, the Baileys, changed her name to Rose.
Why didn't you say anything, especially after the murder? Why all the secrecy?
She wanted to keep it quiet until she could work things out with her husband. That's why we never met in public, except for the one time at Vinny's. It made sense at the time, but then Dr. McKenzie was killed, and I knew I couldn't say anything, not if I wanted to help her.
There is a knock at the door, stopping the conversation cold. Sally enters tentatively.
All right if I come in?
The men look at each other and wave her in.
Back so soon? How was the ice cream?
It was wonderful. Chocolate ice cream with butterscotch and lots of peanuts. Thank you again, Albert.
Anytime, Sally. Anytime.
There's someone outside to see you, Cam. It's Rose McKenzie. You know, that doctor's wife.
Send her in, Sally. It's fine.
Sally exits and immediately returns with Rose. Locke and Rose stand at the center of the room next to each other as Sally and Cam look on.
Inspector Locke, how nice to see you again.
It's all right, Rose. Duncan knows everything.
Everything?
I'll explain later.
Rose is caught off guard for a moment, but quickly recovers.
Yes, I suppose that's only right. You're doing so much to help us. You deserve our honesty.
Well, I'd better be going and get these files back to the office. Duncan, meet me later at Vinny's. We'll have some pie, and I'll give you anything else I've dug up. Rose, I'll stop by tomorrow to check on you.
Thank you, Albert. I look forward to it.
Rose and Locke exchange a warm smile, and he exits.
Mrs. McKenzie, what can I do for you?
Actually, I wanted to do something for you. You've been so kind to help us, and I wanted to show my appreciation.
Rose takes an envelope out of her purse and hands it to Cam. He opens it to find that it is full of cash.
Mrs. McKenzie, I can't accept this. I'm doing this as a favor to Inspector Locke.
Please, I insist.
Sally springs into action and takes the envelope from Cam.
What Mr. Duncan means to say is, thank you, Mrs. McKenzie.
Why, Mr. Duncan, it seems you have a protector of your own. You're a lucky man.
Yes, he is.
Well, I'd better be going. I have an appointment at the church to make arrangements for my husband's funeral. My calling card is in the envelope should you need to reach me. Thank you, and good day to you both.
Rose exits.
So you were going to explain about Inspector Locke and Mrs. McKenzie?
Yeah, better pull up a chair.
Sally sits in a chair near the desk.
I spent the next hour or so giving Sally the rundown on what I had learned about Inspector Locke's relationship to Rose McKenzie. I figured the information would be safe with her. If a guy can't trust the secretary, who can he trust? I used to feel the same way about Locke, but now, let's just say I was beginning to wonder what else he might be keeping from me. Then there was the matter of the cash that Mrs. McKenzie had dropped into our laps. More money than I'd seen in a long time, and Lord knows, we needed it. But was it really a payment for my services? Or a payoff to keep quiet about any incriminating evidence I might come across? I couldn't be sure. Either way, I figured it couldn't hurt to pay Sally what I owed her and give her the rest for safekeeping. I had a few hours to kill before the meeting Locke at the diner, so I gave Sally the rest of the day off and headed home to freshen up. Probably time to at least change my tie before running into Lucy again. Ugh. Or the shirt, too. I got to thinking about Locke and his newfound sister. He was clearly devoted to her and determined to protect her. Certainly explained a lot about his recent behavior, but one question kept nagging at me. Would all that be enough to drive him to murder? Not the Locke I knew, but after what I had seen yesterday, he was not the same man I thought I knew. I was hoping the meeting at Vinny's diner would give me what I needed to both set my mind at ease and help clear both of them from suspicion. I was also hoping that Locke was picking up the tab. Turns out, I couldn't have been more wrong.
Looks like our hero definitely has his work cut out for him. Be sure to tune in next week. I have a feeling something big is about to happen. And now I've got some very exciting news to share. The Randall Theater Company is very close to securing a stage, and that means we're ready to start scheduling shows. First up, a live show with the Randall's own improv troupe. You've seen many of them right here on Ghostlighting, sharing theater games you can play at home. Well, in just a few weeks, they will be putting on a live show with an actual live audience. Now, because of limits on how many people we can have together in the space, seating will be limited, but we're also working on a way to live stream the show so more of you can see it. Look for more information on all of that in the next few days. We're going to close the show today with a very special performance in our public domain concert series. Brandt Nakamura has appeared in several Randall shows, including On the Town, Blues in the Night, and Forbidden Broadway. He recently moved back to his home in Hawaii, but even so, he's still very much a part of our Randall family. So tonight, he's performing the song Danny Boy, singing it the way only Brandt Nakamura can.
Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen and down the mountainside, the summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. It's I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I will maybe, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave for me, and I shall hear the soft dew tread above me, and all my grief will warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until ye come to me.
Thank you, Brandt. That was beautiful and moving, and it just reminds me of how much we miss you here in Southern Oregon. What a wonderful way to close our show. So I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. Your support means so much to us, especially as we're basically starting over in a new space and adapting to this new normal. So please donate if you can. Every dollar really counts, especially now. And if you can donate $20 or more, we'll send you one of our Theater Strong wristbands. Just follow the link at the bottom of your screen or look for the donate button at randalltheater.com. As always, you can catch up on all of our ghostlighting shows anytime on the Randall Theater Company Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time, but until then, we'll keep the ghost light on for you.